We are looking at Eli Under the Water, commentary by Coach Chris. We're going to let this one start off. Just kind of go through and take a look at what we have going on and what stands out. The first thing that stands out is I like his head as far as the stillness. He does a great job of keeping a very still head. One thing I do notice, though, as you can see in this frame right here, his kick is extremely wide. And if you watch him swim, you see he's got a lot of great, really still head. He's got a really wide kick. But with backstroke, the kick I'm seeing here is more like a freestyle kick. With backstroke, you want a narrower kick so that your hips can actually rotate better. We'll go back to this because this is a great view. Look how static his hips are. I mean, they're moving side to side a little bit, but they stay very much vertical. And this is part of what's limiting that shoulder roll and that ability for him to get that hand down deeper. As we can see, as this bring this hand back, his hand is not the most shallow. He's getting a decent reach, but he's on his back reaching out, which is why we're seeing this very, 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 very long arm. You see he's got a very slight bend in the arm, not a very deep bend. And if you watch a video of a really, like a Ryan Lochte, he'll be more on his side at this point, and you'll see a much more pronounced, almost 90-degree bend in that arm, because he'll have the room to do it. His 90-degree bend will be down here to here. It'll be a much deeper bend. And when I'm looking at Eli, basically what I'm seeing is this kick at the back end. While it's a wide kick, it's producing decent power. It's really limiting the power for the arms because he's not getting his full body into the rotation. The still head position helps, but we can also see that high head position. Let's bring it back a little bit. By the low hips. Remember, he's going to be looking this way. He tends to look back. He have a rather high head position. You can see just part of the back of his head, back of his neck in the water, and that's what's creating this space. And you can see the bend in his body. His hips are going down, but the line of his legs are going back up. So they have this little cavity that he's creating. So it's gonna give him a lot of his body weight's gonna be on his legs. So it's gonna give his legs some ability to generate more power. But that's an issue if you have a tremendously strong kick. That might be an asset, but overall it's probably not going to be the most effective way to do it, because as the legs get tired, he'll develop an issue. So see, we have this kick here. I mean, look at how wide that is. The wider the kick, the harder it is for these hips to rotate back and forth, because the wide kick creates a stable base. It's what you want for a sprint freestyle. If you're going a really fast sprint free, you want this nice wide kick. And backstroke, he wants his kick to stay a little more in the shadow of his body. It's going to be basically nice and tight, kind of within the shadow of his body, just like that. If we look at the arc of his actual kick right here, I mean, he's going all the way to the surface, which is good, but he pulls his feet back. I mean, he's got about twice the width of the kick that he probably would want, and that'll help him get those, get a little more rotation out of the body. In the head position, if he gets the head back more, it looks a little more down and forward, gets the head in the water. What you're going to see is these hips come up to the surface more in line with his body. And what that's going to do is give him the ability to cut through the water cleaner. That's going to make a big difference when you're talking, the 200 backstroke as he gets older. or even the 100 backstroke and the 400 IM, you know, when you're trying to cut through the water a little cleaner. He's got a decent grip on the water. It's just, you see, because of this flat body position, you know, he's not rolling the hips, he's not getting on his side enough. You just see this arm bend. You know, the one we want to see is about 90 degrees. So you want to see it get deeper, just like that. And what that does is that brings that hand a little closer to the body where you have more power. But for the way for him to do that is really shrink this kick up so that you can roll more to his side. You want this shoulder right now. This shoulder's down. His other shoulder is actually up. He has a good shoulder roll above water. But they're not really where you want. You would want this shoulder to get a little deeper as the other one gets higher. Let's delete the old shoulder position. So that's more where he wants. And you only get that position by rolling more on your side with that narrower kick. And really, I think that's part of one of the things we can work on, is just narrow that kick. And then, you know, a lot of the other issues we're seeing will pretty much fall in line. It's a good kick. I mean, you can see all the power coming out of it. So he's got a strong kick. He just needs to shrink it. You know, the backstroke kick isn't the same as that freestyle kick. The freestyle kick, nice and wide like he's doing. Backstroke kick, 3/4, or for him, probably half that size. Going into the turn. Now we work on this a lot. We've been talking about this. We'll keep talking about it. You see these arms out straight. He's kind of doing this whirly bird with the hands. You know, he's circling the arms around as he flips. And this is kind of the incorrect position. Now he does try to get it into the correct position. So he has it half right. It's just going out with the arms, generally not what you want to do on that turn. And we talk about that, you know. Bring the hands through to your sides. Pull all the way through on the last stroke. Hands right on your thighs. Turn the palms down. And when you initiate the flip, just splash yourself in the face. Keep the hands in tight. Don't reach outside of the body. And here you see he starts to do it. And his arm's just getting all the way out as he tries to go into that flip. You know, and then he actually brings them in like he's supposed to for that streamline. But that's going to slow down that turn. You know, remember, when you're rotating, you want to get in tight to the body. Bring everything in as tight as you can so that you can get over on that flip. Solid push off. You can see him kick a little too soon. He's just leaving the wall and he's rushing that kick. I'd like to see him be a little more patient, glide a little bit. And this is one of the areas he definitely needs to improve. A lot of the boys have this issue. You know, this is just this is a weak streamline. And it's a technique we got to improve. You can see all this space between his head and ears. You see the, you know, Taj Mahal shape of the arms. It's not tight. It's not a needle point. You should be squeezing his head as tight as possible. He should be literally pressing on the space behind his ears on the back of his skull, pressing that with his bicep and getting as long and narrow as he can. And I can't say enough about how important that is, that we lock in these streamlines and get hand over hand. Right now you see hand by hand. You know, this feels comfortable to him, but the amount of speed he's losing because of it, you know, it's the front end of the projectile, it's the front end of the torpedo. And like I try to tell the kids, if you have a slinky at the front or near the front of the torpedo or rocket, you're not going to have a very effective torpedo or rocket. And this sort of streamline, because of all the movement, because of all the looseness, because of all the gaps where the water gets in, it's basically like trying to launch a rocket with a, you know, slinky at the top of it, or holding the top on. It's just not very effective. And the forces of drag of the water are going to slow you down. And that's an area where he's going to be able to improve. We've been working hard on those dolphin kicks, and he's been doing a good job with the over-unders that we do. It's just getting these kids comfortable and getting Eli to the point where, you know, he can streamline effectively, he's using his glide effectively, and he's reducing the amount each lap that he has to swim, because that's ultimately the goal. You know, we go underwater so that the swim is shorter. And we want him to get more efficient so that he can do that almost as fast as he can swim. And that means later in a race he'll be more effective. You see this straight arm. Very little bend, just a lot to the outside. This is a long bar. You know, he's reaching back behind the shoulder. You know, again, this is part of the result of that kick. He's grabbing that water. It's a very long bar, very low power. You know, if you want a powerful pull, you want that shoulder deeper. You want the arm down deep, the hand closer to the body. You know, something like that. Let me get rid of the old one. Something like that. Get that shoulder deeper so you're not reaching back behind your back. And get a nice deep bend and pull down. You know, pull down from here. Just pull down along the body like you're pulling on the rope. I mean, generally, just small adjustments are all we need to make. Get the head back a little more to get the hips up. You know, he's sitting up. You can see in this frame, sitting up a lot. Shrink that kick. Get it narrower so that you can get more hip rotation. Now, that's going to be a hard adjustment because part of what keeps his balance so well is that wide kick, the low hips. He's used to being stable in this position. It takes a little bit of newly developed coordination for him to be able to roll like we want him to roll, to get those shoulders deeper so he can pull closer to his body and grab better water with the arms. So tighten the kick and we'll get more power out of the arms as we learn to roll our shoulder deeper, get more on our side. You know, a good backstroke is really going side to side, rotating around his center line, moving the hips and shoulders. They rotate together a little bit more than you'll see with a top level sprint freestyler, more like a distance freestyler. You're going to see a lot of hip action in them if they're doing it right. So generally, very solid stroke, very solid head position. I like the fact that he can keep his head that still. That's very, very good for this age. You know, he's pulling good water, he's kicking good water. It's just his pull's a little bit far away, a little bit behind him. His kick is a little bit wide, or a lot of it wide actually. And if we shrink the kick, I think a lot of the other dominoes fall into place. You need to keep working on those flip turns. You need to keep working on developing the glide and the streamline. Those are critical for developing a good backstroke. You have to be good underwater. You have to have a good streamline. You have to have a good kick out and use it effectively to shorten the pool. And those are all things we work on every single day. So the more he puts into it, the more he tries to make sure he pushes off with those good streamlines, uses the glide, and takes advantage of those opportunities, the better he'll get.